another episode of Retail Media Thursdays. My name is Michelle Irwin, VP of Marketing at Sky, and today I'm joined by Ladi Fagbola from MinsterFB. Welcome, Ladi, to Retail Media Thursdays.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Ladi. I'm the advertising manager at Minster, and I've been there for just over 4 years. It's been a fantastic journey. So before Minster, I used to be a lecturer, and then the first 2 years at Minster, I was doing both simultaneously, and then I realized that I did more learning on Amazon at Minster than as a university lecturer. So for now, I'm full-time at Minster, and MinsterFB is an Amazon agency, so we're an Amazon-only agency, and anybody knows dealing with Amazon can be quite mechanical. So we try to give it that human face. We have account managers that you can interface with instead of raising cases, and talking into the ether, and try to limit that to 2 to 3 brands per account manager, and keeping up with Amazon and seeing where the next adventure is.
Oh, it's a fast-moving company for sure.
Yes.
You need to stay on your toes. What's been your peak of the week so far, personally or professionally?
Well, personally, I just came back from Edinburgh on Sunday, and that was such a wild ride. I think it's called the Royal Mile. We did it like 3 times at different times of the day, and each time was a different vibe, different people, different busking, different shops, and didn't know there were so many variations of cashmere. It was literally one cashmere shop every 2 meters. So Edinburgh was a massive experience for me. Yeah.
Cashmere and shortbread. That's my other favourite thing about going to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I've only ever been when the festival's on though, so It's probably a very different vibe then.
Fringe Festival? Yeah. I saw the signs, but I've never been there for that.
Very good, worth going. Which pub are we in, and why did you choose it?
Yeah, Tavern. I think because I'm from Nottingham, I try to pick locations close to St. Pancras because I usually come in by train. So it's about, what's easier to get to from St. Pancras without having to navigate London's complex and overbearing and overwhelming transport system. So this is about 15 minutes from the train station, and it just had the right vibe for me.
Okay, let's get into the retail media portion of things. So when we were chatting before this, you mentioned that one of the philosophies you follow is Byron Sharp's How Brands Grow. How can you take the learnings and the strategies from that book and apply them to Amazon ads?
On first glance, you might think it's not applicable because it talks a lot about television advertising, but actually the principles underneath that are quite easy to adapt. So one of the main things it talks about is talking to all category shoppers regularly, and that's something we've always done at Minster as well in terms of always on advertising. And you need to speak to everybody within your category regularly, and maintain that share of voice top of mind. He uses the term mental availability. They're all interchangeable terms in terms of keeping yourself in the mind frame of your shoppers. And the other aspect as well that we really enjoy with Amazon DSP specifically is the frequency capping, not overexposing shoppers to your ad. You don't want to annoy them basically. And that's something he goes on a lot about as well in terms of keeping regular contact and speaking to your shoppers regularly, but not too much. You don't want to irritate them. You don't need to speak to the same shopper 8 times a week, for example. So that's one of the main things we really enjoy from Amazon DSP in terms of keeping that contact and frequency down. And then in terms of redefining the category, so that's slightly more new in terms of unpacking that. So we have a milkshake client where we were primarily focused on their competitors. So they sell milkshake, their competitors sell milkshake, and therefore that's our category. But one of the things Byron Sharp emphasizes is actually look at it from the solution perspective. What's the solution milkshake is trying to give? And therefore everybody who can offer that same solution is your competitor. Yeah. So it's actually forcing us to widen our definition of what a category is. And the shocking part of that is we realize for this milkshake brand, one of their competitors is energy drinks. So the main reason a lot of people who drink milkshake is yes, to get that full feeling, but it's more for the energy to get up and go without having to eat a full meal. And that's primarily why people take energy drinks as well. So the size of that category has gone from 100,000 shoppers to 300,000 shoppers the space of that. So that's one of the new thinking that we're really trying to bring into what we're doing. And then he had this very slim chapter within the book called Distinctive Assets. And that's because him and a lady called Joni, or Rani, I think, have a whole different book called Distinctive Assets. We've not fully explored that yet, but it's the same, well-known idea of brand consistency, brand identity. So whatever distinctive assets the brand has in bricks and mortar, on telly, in radio, in terms of sound, all those distinctive assets can and should be deployed on Amazon. And that's one of the things we like about Amazon is in terms of, how much real estate you have to tell a story, whether it's text, pictures, videos, and it can even get quite scary with reviews as well. Yes, reviews are not in your control, but still, that's still an avenue for your own shoppers to tell a story about your brand as well. So you can continuously reuse and re-engage all those different aspects when you're constantly re-engaging shoppers.
Cool. I love the milkshake example.
Yes.
It's a book I'm a big fan of at the moment. I took on this role in January, and it's one I've been reading since then. And lots of interesting insights in there.
Absolutely. No, it's a great book. It can be difficult to read because there's so many tables, but once you get underneath that, it's amazing.
You touched on it briefly there, but Amazon is obviously kind of well embedded as a sales channel.
Yes.
How much convincing do advertisers need to use it as a brand marketing channel as well?
Yes, more than it should. I think normally we're quite focused on this are the numbers. You can do this, you can do that, you can do this. But actually, there's a bit more storytelling I think we as Amazon agencies can do to convince the brand marketeers to see it as a marketing platform as well. But it is changing because there's so much exciting new tools, new avenues, whether it's omnichannel, the new word is multi-channel advertising. It's hard to keep track of every new term. So one of the things we're quite excited about is we can now engage shoppers at different parts of their journey. So whether they're watching Prime Video, Freeview, that kind of thing, or they're streaming video games on Twitch, or even off Amazon advertising, where you can bring all of that together from one platform. You don't have to log into multiple different platforms or different metrics. So that omni or multi-channel perspective, we think, is getting people quite excited. And then there is a more niche approach that we're seeing for the smaller and medium brands in terms of their internalization approach. So one of the things we've noticed is for a medium or small brand, if they nail brand building on Amazon in one geography, it's a lot easier to replicate that in another geography. So if they're advertising in the UK and they've done a decent job of brand building on Amazon in the UK, they can more or less take that approach and replicate it in Italy. But if they wanted to just do standard marketing in Italy, it's a completely different approach. You might need to prioritize radio over billboards, for example, because of the Italian market, and you need to relearn everything from scratch. But one of the things we're saying is that Amazon standardization approach can go a long way with internationalization for small and medium-sized brands.
Interesting. One of the things you touched on there was some of these formats that are upper funnel, and I guess they're available not just to the endemic brands that are selling on Amazon, but also non-endemic brands.
Yeah.
Are you seeing much interest from those brands, and how are they approaching and tackling Amazon ads?
Yeah, so it's still quite early days for us. We've not had a lot of clamor for it, but we're having one or two conversations here and there that are quite exciting. And one of the things we try to emphasize is that the approach is quite similar. The tool itself, again, coming back to Amazon's, I'll say desperation for standardization. When you're implementing those tools for endemic and non-endemic, the approach is more or less the same. Think about your targeting, think about your frequency, think about your audience, how you report that, all of that kind of stuff. It's quite similar. But one thing we do emphasize is that you still have to make the same considerations. So when you capture the audience, whether it's on Amazon or off Amazon, what are you saying after that? After you capture their attention, It's still the same SEO consideration. You still put in the same words in front of them. It's still similar, from an image perspective. There's the images you have on a landing page, whether it's on Amazon or Amazon. Is that kind of image going to help with conversion and things like that? I guess with non-endemic, the main difference would be maybe user experience. Whereas if it's an endemic, Amazon more or less has full autonomy and control over the user experience, whereas from your website or wherever your platform you're sending that traffic to, that's an extra consideration. But in terms of them engaging with the Amazon ads platform, it's more or less standard.
Okay, great. So switching topics slightly. One of the areas, in fact, at our Shoppable event a couple of weeks ago, one of the panelists said that the biggest question they get asked at the moment as an agency is around retail media technology and insights, because this whole world has just become quite unwieldy. There's a lot out there. Have you got any examples of how you're using technology to manage campaigns and to use insights to kind of best effect?
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons we're quite happy with Sky. So Sky is one of our tool providers, is applying AI at scale. So we just spoke about ChatGPT, and individuals within the business are using ChatGPT to various extent. But how can you do it at scale where the whole one or two persons can manage multiple campaigns simultaneously? And I think one of your tools specifically, we actually have one or two statements on that, is in terms of the ad scheduling. So one of the things we like about Sky is the AI ad scheduling. It can look at 20, 200, 500, no matter how many number of campaigns, and it can look at all of them at the same time and give you suggestions on how you can upweight, downweight, and all this kind of things. And I think one of the main things as well for us is in how we're implementing AI is we're not saying AI to do the work for us, but at least give us an overview of what is happening, and we still have that option to drill down and make even more minute decisions or leave it at a higher level. So that's one of the reasons we actually went to Sky in the first place, because we had a lot of tool providers who use this very nice and shiny black box. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it gets performance, but I need to be able to interrogate it. And I think that's something everybody is quite interested about in terms of that closed loop reporting, which retail media can and oftentimes provides, where you can interrogate, I spent £1 here and I got X amount here as well. But even internally, so we have our data guys, we have a data team, and they're pulling data from all sorts of angles, including data from Sky, and we have a number of other third-party tools we use. And I think the most important thing is to make all this data make sense, because they're coming from so many angles and speaking slightly different languages. It takes somebody, hours to really know, okay, what A is saying is very similar to what B is saying. So on the back end, we have these guys writing fancy code. I have no idea what they're doing, but they're writing it in a way that would make all this data actionable, because if not, you can really drown in data. Specifically Amazon, they release an API every other month, and it's quite easy to connect to all of them and bring all that data in. But we, as a senior leadership at Minster, we actually have conversations on what's the data, how will it benefit us, and what actionable insights can we get from it. And we review that as well, because every API we connect to comes with cost. So sometimes as well, we connect to it, we get the data, we implement it, and go, actually, this is not really working, and then we scale it back. So I think test and learn, I know that sounds cliche, but test and learn is the only way to get around all this sources of data that just barrage in you. Yeah.
Thirsty for insight. What is it? Drowning in data, but thirsty for insights.
Exactly.
Okay, changing topics again slightly. We are still technically in a recession here in the UK. What do you think the role of advertising is at this time, and I guess specifically retail media?
Yes. So coming back to Byron Sharp, and I think even Les Binet as well mentioned something similar, is how advertising is actually more important during those recessionary periods, because how else do you maintain that mental availability when everybody's purse strings are being pulled back? So actually, if your business circumstances allow, at a minimum, you should maintain your advertising budget, and if you can, increase that, because to even then gain more mental availability. And that can even be a net benefit as well, because if your competitors are also reducing their marketing budgets, the cost per acquisition can drop quite significantly. But that's in terms of at a whole at a broader level, at a broader perspective, advertising is more essential for maintaining sales during a recessionary period. And then coming down to retail media specifically, it even becomes more interesting when you look at search advertising specifically. What we're seeing is that the cost of advertising on search is actually increasing. We've been seeing the consistent increase in cost per click. But one thing we've noticed, and we're quite confident, is in the Amazon Rewards tenor. So the longer you advertise, the better your return on investment starts to become. So even if you keep that spend going, your ROAS starts to increase as well as your CPC. And that's for two reasons. Primarily because Amazon now has history on how shoppers react to your ads, and Amazon will reward that in terms of giving you more slots. Basically, even though you're paying more, it's more likely to have history of what kind of shopper will respond positive to your ads, and then it rewards that in terms of that whole flywheel multiplier effect. But also during that period, people are also more cautious in terms of where they spend and how they spend, so they're not necessarily going to go out of categories they're already comfortable with. They're not necessarily going to be experimenting. So you have to spend a bit more effort to go find them because they're not going to come to you. Uh-huh. So that's primarily from a search perspective. But from a display perspective, it's a bit more tricky. We can't say for sure whether the cost of display is going up and down because it's way more varied according to categories as well. But what we do know is the same approach in terms of an always-on advertising approach in terms of getting that mental availability, especially if your competitors are cutting back. And then it also mirrors how we look at off-peak and peak season advertising as well. So we always tell our shoppers not to, completely withdraw from advertising during off-peak seasons, because actually what you want to do is draw your visibility during those off-peak seasons. You want your maximum mental availability, you want your maximum organic ranking, things like that. So therefore, when you come into your peak season, you're starting from a significantly stronger position. And then you can translate that to this recessionary conversation in terms of, I'm optimistic that we're going to leave this recessionary period, that we're going to go into growth very soon. So all the mental availability you've captured within this period would only give you, a significantly more uplift when people are ready to buy, when people are more ready to experiment, when people are more interested in trying different things. And then in terms of, okay, what about tactical things you can do now in this recessionary period, not just optimistic when we come out, is this idea of brand trust. So shoppers are significantly more careful. So they want to make sure every purchase they make does exactly what they expect. So this idea of your best reviewed product, your most popular product, your most trusted product needs to take center stage. It's not that there's no opportunity for NPD, but in this period, from a tactical perspective, if you have to pick out of your portfolio of products, okay, what should be our champion? Now is the time to focus on that well and trusted product, brand, sub-brand, or proposition, because here, people will not want to engage in anything that sort of suggests risk taking on their part. So yes, we're not saying splash all your money. You still need to consider your business dynamics. You still need to consider return on investment, but there are certain things you can do that will benefit you now and will also have long-term payments when we come out of recession.
And I guess with Prime Day coming up, it's even more a reason, inflationary times, recession, consumers are on the lookout for those deals. So it's even more important to have kind of advertising and a strategy around that specifically. Yes,
exactly. Because the last thing you want to do is discount yourself to the bottom. You need to be able to support the business as well.
Yeah. Lovely. Cool. Well, it's been great to see you on here. We're now going to move on to my favorite round, the quickfire questions.
Lovely. Thank you.
So we've talked a lot about Amazon.
Yeah.
What was the last thing you bought on Amazon?
It's going to be very boring. It's white tack.
White tack.
So I have this poster that I'm trying to hang on the wall in one of our rooms, and I don't want to resort to using a nail. So I've tried lots of different things, trying to just get this poster to stick, and it refuses to stick. I was like, fine, I'll try white tack. And I literally put it on yesterday. So I bought it on Sunday. Arrived yesterday. Arrived yesterday. And I put it on yesterday. So fingers crossed.
Has it fallen down yet?
Not this morning.
You mentioned Amazon Prime as well. What was the last TV show you watched?
I'm currently watching the Fallout TV series. I'm a bit of a gamer, so it was a no-brainer, really. But at the same time, it's not unusual for TV producers to, lose the essence of the video game, but I think they really did a great job with Fallout. So I think I'm on episode 3, so I'm literally still watching it now.
I've heard good things about it. I'm watching Three Body Problem at the moment.
Yes.
Do you believe in outer space, extraterrestrial aliens? Do you think they're out there somewhere?
It's a difficult question because you can answer it scientifically and philosophically, and I'm going to give you both. I think scientifically, it's yes in terms of the probability of it. There's so many solar systems and planets and suns and satellites and opportunities for life to exist that it's in my opinion, it's scientifically unimaginable for this planet to be the only habitable planet. And that's one of the things I like about Three Body Problems, is that even breaks it down. Sorry, I'm taking your TV show. But what I like is that it breaks
Don't give anything away.
No. It's not a spoiler, I promise. But it breaks it down from in terms of dimensions. So we are in the 3rd dimension, but you can still have extraterrestrials in the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 10th. That's even more mind-breaking. And you can have extraterrestrials in the 2nd one, and I don't even know if there's a 0 dimension. So, that's my perspective. But I think also philosophically, there is an element of arrogance to believe humans are the most intelligent living thing in the world. I think that's quite a bold statement to believe in my opinion. Even on Earth, we're just maybe the most aggressive, not necessarily even the most intelligent. So we've never finished exploring the marina, the really, really deep ocean floors. We've not gotten to the bottom of it, so we actually don't even know what's waiting for us down there. And of course, similar up there.
So there are aliens out there filming a Retail Media Thursday
yes.
in a pub
yes.
on some planet that we've not discovered yet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what you can take away from this.
Yeah.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
As long as I can switch it on and off, mind reading.
Oh no, I just wouldn't want to know. Mine's teleportation.
Teleportation,
sure.
Yeah. Can it be anywhere you imagine, or you have to have been there before?
Anywhere.
Okay. That's dangerous.
Mainly it's just getting me home after a long trip to the US. I don't like being sat in airports. And last but not least, who is the most famous person you've ever met?
No.
We need to go walk around Soho for an hour.
Yeah.
We'll soon bump into someone.
No, you can tell I'm from the sticks of Nottingham. We don't get that many famous people. I think the closest I can think of is I've met a number of Nigerian celebrities. Funny, I used to be a photographer in a different life, so I worked with a lot of Nigerian celebrities. So some 1 or 2 Nigerian celebrities come to mind, but nothing in the UK or US for
no
that
A-listers.
No.
Well, it was so good to have you. Thank you for coming down from Nottingham, and cheers.
Thank you.